For 3 years, I thought my husband's frequent business trips were for our future, until I followed him one night and discovered the woman he called home. Part 1. The man I thought I knew. If you asked me a year ago to describe my husband, Daniel, I would have said he was a man of principle, loyal, reliable, a steady hand in a chaotic world. We'd been together 9 years, married for 6, and in those 6 years, he had never once given me a reason to doubt him. Not when he forgot anniversaries, not when he came home late from meetings, not even when he suddenly had to travel more for work. I chalked it up to stress, to growth, to the natural ebb and flow of adult life. I was wrong. It started small. The first crack came when he forgot our dog's birthday. Yes, silly, but Daniel had always made it a point to buy Bella a treat every year. This time, he didn't even remember she existed. Then it was missed texts, calls going unanswered, weird silences when I asked simple questions like, where exactly was the conference? Or, why didn't your hotel have Wi-Fi? Still, I brushed it off. We all change. Marriage isn't a fairy tale. We were both tired, overworked. I blame myself for not being more supportive, for not dressing up more often or being spontaneous the way I used to. But something festered under the surface. Then came the night I couldn't sleep. He was on another trip, Chicago supposedly. I woke up at 2:30 a.m. from a nightmare, reached for my phone to check the time, and saw a notification on our shared iCloud account. A location ping. Odd. I tapped it. He wasn't in Chicago. He was less than 40 miles away. At first I froze. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he had a layover or had returned early. I called. No answer. I texted. You okay? Silence. I opened the location again. It hadn't changed. A residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. I don't know what possessed me to get in the car and drive. I wasn't thinking like myself. My hands trembled the whole way. A part of me still hoped it was nothing. Maybe he was visiting a sick friend. Maybe it was a surprise, something noble, something innocent. But when I turned onto the quiet, tree-lined street and saw his car in the driveway of a quaint little home, all those illusions shattered. I parked 2 houses away, heart pounding like it might rip out of my chest. Lights were on in the house, curtains drawn, but enough illumination leaked out to cast warm shadows on the porch. And then, the door opened. Daniel stepped out, smiling. Behind him, a woman followed, laughing softly, wearing one of his old college sweatshirts, one I had folded and put in his suitcase 2 weeks ago. She kissed him. Not a friendly kiss, not a goodbye peck, a real kiss. Familiar, intimate. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. He kissed her again, whispered something in her ear, and walked back inside like he belonged there. I sat there for almost an hour, paralyzed. I couldn't even cry. I didn't know if I was more heartbroken or humiliated. My husband, had a life I knew nothing about, a woman I knew nothing about. When I finally drove home, I didn't know what to do. Do I confront him? Wait until he comes home and see if he lies again? Do I call the woman? Do I even want to know the full extent of what's been happening? That night, I lay awake on our bed and stared at the ceiling, realizing the man I loved no longer existed, or maybe he never did. And the worst part? He probably didn't even miss me. Part 2, the lie he told with his eyes. Morning came like a betrayal. The light poured through the curtains, indifferent to my broken world. Daniel's suitcase was supposed to arrive later that day. His plane, if his lie were real, was scheduled to land at 11:20 a.m. I had checked the flight status anyway. There was no such flight from Chicago listed. I checked again, still nothing. I didn't sleep, I didn't shower, I didn't eat. I just sat there, curled up on the edge of the bed like a stranger in my own home, waiting for him to walk in with a smile and another lie tucked neatly behind his teeth. At 11:53 a.m., the front door opened. "Hey, babe," he called, like nothing had happened. He dropped his duffel bag by the door. God, I'm so tired. That flight was hell. I didn't move. He walked into the bedroom and stopped when he saw me. For a second, his face shifted, just a flicker. Shock, maybe. Guilt. I couldn't quite tell. But then he smoothed it over with that mask I now knew too well. "Didn't you get my text?" he asked. "I tried to call, but I figured you were asleep." "I was up," I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was hollow, detached. "All night." "Oh." He set his phone on the dresser. "Something wrong?" I stared at him. I had memorized every line of his face, the curve of his smile, the color of his eyes, and yet now I didn't recognize him at all. "Where were you last night, Daniel?" I asked slowly. He blinked. I told you. Chicago. The expo ran late. No, I cut in. You weren't in Chicago. His lips parted slightly, his breath caught. I stood, walked to the nightstand, picked up my phone and held it out. The location history still glowed on the screen. He didn't even look at it. He just closed his eyes. There it was, the first true reaction. The silence, the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched. You followed me, he said finally. You lied to me, I shot back. For how long? How many times? How many nights have you told me you were somewhere building our future while you were busy building another life? He didn't answer. Say something, I yelled, my voice finally cracking under the weight of everything I had held in. I didn't want to hurt you, he said softly. I laughed. It was dry and bitter. You didn't want to hurt me. Daniel, you cheated on me. You built an entire relationship with another woman. I saw you kiss her. You lied to my face for God knows how long. Don't stand there and tell me this was about sparing me. He rubbed his face as if that would somehow wipe away the guilt. I didn't plan for this to happen, he muttered. It started during one of my trips. She was easy to talk to. I felt alive again. That was the nail in the coffin. Alive. I made you feel dead, is that it? I asked, choking on my own disbelief. All the nights I stayed up waiting, all the little things I did, packed your bags, ironed your shirts, reminded you of your parents' birthdays, you felt dead with me. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I was crying now, my voice rising. Tell me! Because I need to understand how the man I married became this cold stranger who kisses another woman and still comes home to me expecting everything to be fine. He sat down on the edge of the bed, burying his head in his hands. It was supposed to be temporary. Temporary, like a hotel stay, like a fling you toss away before it means anything. And yet you've been seeing her for 3 years, I whispered. His head snapped up, his eyes searched mine. Yes, Daniel, I went back, I watched. I saw photos on her fridge, you, her, together, from 3 years ago. While you were telling me we couldn't afford a vacation, you were off celebrating anniversaries with her. I didn't know how to stop, he said. I thought if I ended it, it would blow everything up. It's already blown up, I said coldly. You did that. You burned this house down the moment you decided to lie. He looked at me like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, hoping to be saved but too proud to scream for help. Do you love her? I asked. His silence was the loudest thing I had ever heard. Part 3. The Truth That Left Bruises. He didn't answer me, not right away, not even with a glance. That single question, do you love her, hung in the air like the scent of smoke after a fire, impossible to ignore. Finally, he swallowed hard and whispered, I don't know. That was worse than yes, worse than no. I don't know meant he might. And that meant everything I thought we had was now just one side of a triangle I never signed up for. I stood frozen, arms wrapped around myself. I felt so small. In that moment, I realized the person I trusted with my soul had placed me second in a life I was supposed to be first in. I need you to leave, I said quietly, my voice almost mechanical. Daniel's head snapped up. Wait, don't, please. Let's talk about this. We're talking, I said. And every word is another nail in the coffin. He stood like he might try to hold me. I stepped back so fast I nearly tripped over the corner of the bed. Don't, I said sharply. Don't touch me. I can't even look at you right now. He backed off, his hands raised like I was pointing a weapon at him. I made a mistake. No, Daniel. Dropping the milk is a mistake. Locking your keys in the car is a mistake. Lying to your wife for 3 years while building another relationship behind her back isn't a mistake. It's a choice, one you made over and over. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He had no defense, no story that could make it okay. I gave you everything, I said. Do you understand that? I built a life around you. I believed in us. Even when things got hard, I thought we'd work through it. But you weren't interested in fixing things. You just found someone new. It wasn't about replacing you, he said quietly. Then what the hell was it about? I shouted. Was I just boring, predictable, not exciting enough? Too tired from working full-time and still being the one to cook, clean, remember anniversaries and smile through your distance? He didn't reply. His silence was a confession. I turned away from him, tears blurring my vision. In my mind, I saw the version of us I used to believe in, laughing over pancakes, holding hands in airports, whispering dreams in the dark, All lies now, all tainted, and yet despite it all, a tiny, stupid part of me still wanted him to fight for me, for us, to break down and cry and beg me to stay. But he didn't. He just stood there, like a man watching a train wreck he started but was too scared to stop. I finally turned back to him. Pack your things, stay at a hotel, or better yet, go to her. It seems like she's been your home for a while now anyway. His jaw tightened. You don't mean that. I do, I said. And if you had any respect left for me at all, you'd go. The silence that followed was a slow kind of death. He walked out without another word. I listened as his footsteps disappeared down the hallway, the sound of the door closing behind him like a final chapter slamming shut. Then I collapsed. I sank to the floor and cried like I hadn't cried in years, the kind of cry that rips you open and leaves you gasping. My chest ached, my throat burned, and yet somewhere beneath the pain there was something else, relief. Because even though my heart was shattered, the truth had been pulled into the light, and sometimes, no matter how much it hurts, the truth is the only thing that can set you free. Part 4. The woman he chose over me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed, my bed now, staring at the ceiling, feeling the silence swell in every corner of the house. His scent still clung to the pillow beside me. His wedding ring sat abandoned on the bathroom sink, a tiny metal symbol that once meant everything and now meant nothing. By morning, I was hollow, but something inside me had shifted. Maybe it was rage, maybe survival, maybe both. I needed to see her. I needed to look her in the eye and see what kind of woman wrecks another woman's world without a second thought. It didn't take long to find her. I remembered her name from the message I'd read. Can't wait to be in your arms again, D-Love Marissa. Her profile was public, sloppy, careless, or maybe just brazen, because women like her always assume the wife will stay quiet and broken. Her page was filled with filtered selfies, travel pics, and captions like, living my truth and manifesting love. I felt sick. She worked at a boutique downtown. I recognized the storefront immediately. It was one of those posh little shops that sold $200 scarves and candles made of beeswax and deceit. I dressed deliberately, not for her, but for me. Black jeans, boots, a jacket that made me look stronger than I felt. My armor. When I walked in, a bell chimed overhead. There were 2 women inside, one older, dusting shelves, the other was Marissa. She looked exactly like her photos, pretty, confident, polished in that rehearsed way. And when her eyes landed on me, I saw the flicker of recognition, then discomfort, then fear. Can I help you? She asked, her voice cool, guarded. You already have, I said evenly. I just wanted to see the woman my husband risked everything for. Her face paled. Don't lie, I snapped. We're past lies. The older woman glanced over, sensing the tension. Everything okay? We're fine, Marissa said quickly, forcing a smile. Just a misunderstanding. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. How long has it been going on? She swallowed. I didn't know he was married, not at first. But you knew eventually. You know now. She didn't answer. You helped him lie, helped him sneak around, helped him come home to me and sleep beside me while texting you. I didn't mean for it to happen. Oh, spare me, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. You meant for it to happen every time you opened your door and let him in. Every time you smiled at your phone and sent another message. You made choices, just like he did. I loved him, she said suddenly, her voice cracking. That hit like a slap. You loved a man you were sharing with someone else, I said coldly. That's not love. That's desperation dressed in delusion. Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No pity, no sympathy, just the weight of everything she helped destroy. I turned to leave, then paused. He left last night. You can have him if you want him, but I promise you, if he cheated with you, he'll cheat on you. Her face crumbled. I didn't look back. Back home, I expected to feel triumphant. I expected some kind of closure, but all I felt was tired. Tired of the lies, tired of being strong, tired of pretending I was okay. The truth is, grief doesn't come all at once. It arrives in waves, sometimes a trickle, sometimes a flood. That night, I opened a bottle of wine, turned off my phone, and sat in the quiet. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat, feeling the stillness settle around me like dust. This wasn't the life I wanted, but it was mine now, and if nothing else, it was honest. Part 5. Picking up the pieces. When the past comes knocking. The days after confronting Marissa felt like I was walking through a fog. Work became a refuge and a burden at the same time. I buried myself in emails and meetings, answering questions I barely heard. But my mind was elsewhere, replaying every memory, every lie, every stolen moment that Daniel had hidden in the shadows of our marriage. Sometimes, when I closed my eyes at night, I saw him standing next to me, but the image would blur and Marissa's face would flicker in its place. It was like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I didn't want to be weak, but some mornings I woke up feeling like I was suffocating under the weight of what I'd lost. I decided to call my sister Sarah. She had always been the one I could lean on when everything felt too heavy. "Come over," she said without hesitation. "We'll figure this out." Sarah's apartment was warm and cluttered with memories from our childhood. Photos of us laughing, old concert tickets, silly notes we'd passed in high school. It felt like a little bubble of safety in the storm that had become my life. Over tea and snacks, I told her everything. The business trips, the lies, Marissa, the broken promises. My voice cracked in places I didn't even know existed. Sarah listened without judgment. When I finished, she hugged me tight. "You're stronger than you think," she said, "and you deserve better than someone who treats you like an option." Her words planted a small seed of hope inside me. But just as I began to imagine a life without Daniel, something happened that shook me to my core. One evening, as I was locking up my apartment, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Can we talk? I need to explain." My heart stopped. It was Daniel. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. Did I want to hear from him? Did I want to open the door to that pain again? But curiosity won. I replied, "Where?" We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe downtown the next day. When he arrived, he looked different, tired, broken. The confident man I once knew was gone. "I'm sorry," he said before I could speak. "Sorry isn't enough," I said. "Not after everything." "I know," he admitted. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to tell you why." He took a deep breath and began to unravel a story of loneliness, regret, and a spiral of bad decisions. How work pressure crushed him, how he felt disconnected from me, how he made the worst choice of his life. I wanted to hate him, to slam the door and never look back. But somewhere beneath the anger, I felt the flicker of the man I once loved. He wasn't the enemy. He was a flawed human like me, trying to find his way through darkness. I didn't know what the future held, whether we could rebuild or whether the cracks were too deep. But I knew one thing. I had to choose myself first, before love, before guilt, before anyone else. Part 6, The Confrontation, When Truth Burns Deepest. The days after meeting Daniel at the cafe blurred into a strange limbo. Part of me wanted to scream, to demand answers, to rip apart every lie he ever told me. Another part just wanted to forget, to pretend none of it had happened and return to the safety of my old life, even if it was broken. But life doesn't give you that luxury. A few nights later, Daniel showed up at my door unannounced. His eyes were raw, his hands trembling. "I need to talk," he said. I hesitated. The anger inside me had been simmering, and the last thing I wanted was to open a wound that hadn't healed. "Fine," I said, stepping aside. He walked in, the weight of months of secrets and regrets settling heavily between us. "I want to be honest. No more lies," he said. "I'm not excusing what I did, but I need you to understand why." He told me about the pressure he felt at work, the endless travel, the loneliness, the temptation, how he thought he was protecting me by hiding the affair, by pretending everything was normal. But the more he lied, the more the guilt ate him alive. He said he didn't want to lose me, that the affair was a terrible mistake, and he wanted to fix what was broken. I listened, but tears burned my eyes. "How can I trust you?" I whispered. "I don't expect you to trust me now. I only want a chance to earn it back," he said. For a moment, I saw the man I married, the one who promised forever, who held my hand through the hardest times. But then the pain reminded me of the nights I cried alone, the silence when I asked where he'd been, the way Marissa's name haunted my thoughts. "Why should I believe you won't do it again?" I asked. "Because I'm done running from myself," he said. "I'm ready to face the truth, even if it means losing you." The raw honesty struck a nerve. I realized this wasn't just about us. It was about who we were as people, the mistakes we made, and whether we had the strength to forgive. We sat in silence, the weight of our shattered dreams pressing down. I wanted to hate him, but I also wanted to heal. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward, but only if we faced the pain together. Part 7. Rebuilding from Ruins, the Fragile Road to Trust. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of hope and heartbreak. Daniel and I agreed to try counseling. Sitting in that small, sterile office with a stranger was intimidating, but somehow it felt like a lifeline. We were forced to peel back the layers of pain and silence, to speak aloud the things we'd buried deep inside. In those sessions, Daniel confessed everything: the loneliness, the shame, the confusion that led him away from me. I laid bare my own hurt, my feelings of abandonment, my shattered self-worth. We cried, we argued, we sometimes left those rooms feeling raw and exposed, but slowly, we began to understand one another again. Outside of therapy, rebuilding trust wasn't easy. I caught myself flinching when my phone buzzed, fearing another secret. Daniel had to earn my confidence day by day, showing up on time, sharing his whereabouts, being transparent in a way he never had before. And he did. There were nights when we stayed up talking for hours, breaking down walls that had been built by years of routine and silence. We revisited places where we'd made memories, trying to remind ourselves why we fell in love in the first place, but healing was fragile. Some days, a look, a word, a reminder would bring back the sting of betrayal. I wasn't sure if the pain would ever fully fade. One evening, we attended a small gathering of friends, a test for us both. Daniel was nervous. I was guarded. I watched as people smiled and joked, but my mind kept drifting back to Marissa, to the lies, to the nights I'd spent alone. Then, something unexpected happened. Daniel reached out and took my hand, a silent promise of commitment and change. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was enough. Enough to remind me that love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. That night, I realized the fight to save our marriage wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about hope, resilience, and the courage to rebuild from the ruins. Part 8. The Final Crossroads. Choosing love or letting go. Months had passed since that painful confrontation, since the tears and the counseling sessions. The road to healing was still bumpy, filled with setbacks, doubts, and moments where I wondered if this was all worth it. Daniel and I had made progress, but the scars ran deep. Trust didn't return overnight. It was a slow, fragile thread we had to weave together every day. There were mornings when I woke up hopeful, convinced we could rebuild our life, and there were nights when silence settled between us like a heavy fog, reminding me of what we'd lost. One afternoon, Daniel came home with a small box in his hands. "I want to start fresh," he said quietly, his eyes searching mine. Inside the box was a delicate necklace, a symbol of new beginnings, he said. I wanted to believe, but my heart was guarded. We talked late into the night about dreams, fears, and what forgiveness really meant. I told him how hard it was to let go of the past, how betrayal had shaken my sense of self. He listened, really listened, and promised to be patient. Slowly, the walls I'd built around my heart began to crack. We made a pact: no secrets, no lies, and above all, honesty. Yet, even with the best intentions, some wounds are slow to heal. There were moments when the memory of Marissa's face haunted my thoughts, when jealousy whispered poisonous doubts. But Daniel faced those moments with me, never shutting me out. And in time, that made all the difference. Love, I realized, wasn't about never breaking. It was about how you put the pieces back together. The choice to stay or leave was mine, and I chose to stay. Not because I was naive or blind, but because I believed in us, in the imperfect, messy, beautiful bond we shared. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And sometimes, that's enough.